Yeah.
Which, who doesn't, right?
Yeah.
Her theories are pretty awesome. Let's be honest here. And actually, Steve, of course, thinks they're extra awesome because they're a lot like his theory.
Rock on.
Nancy thinks that maybe there was some kind of caste system that happened in this society that built Gobekli Tepe, and that they did some selective breeding, which made them super intelligent. Even perhaps, she said, purging unwanted babies. Ew. There is precedence for that. As she mentions, there are a lot of tribes that there's proof of that happening in other times. Yeah. Anyways, so, and then there, of course, would have been an uprising or something, and she's got a lot of really cool theories about that. So I just wanted to give a little shout out to Nancy for these great theories, because it's stuff I hadn't really thought of. I'm sure Steve thought of it.
Oh, of course.
Steve thinks about weird stuff like this all the time.
All the time.
But I didn't really think of it, so thanks for pointing that out to us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We will consider that next time. We might do a rerun of Gobekli Tepe.
There's enough information.
Yeah.
Yes, we can do that one three times.
Do it. Yeah, at least. I guess send us an email if you want us to know all of your awesome theories, because there are better theories than we have out there.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, no, we don't have them all.
No. What are you talking
about? Anyways, Marjorie West.
Nah, not buying it. Murder.
Bye, everybody.
Thinking Sideways.
I don't understand.
Does not compute.
You never know.
Insufficient data to formulate a reply.
What?
Stories of things we simply don't know the answer to.
Well, hi there. Welcome to another episode of Thinking Sideways. I'm Joe, joined as always by...
Devin.
And Steve.
Yeah. So, you guys ready to solve another mystery?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's roll up our sleeves and start solving. So this week, we're going to talk about a person named Gene Spangler.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Gene Spangler. Yeah.
Old Gene Spangler.
Gene Spangler, yeah. So let's find out what her mystery was. Okay, so she was a dancer and a model who had also done some bit parts in movies in the late 1940s, and she lived in Los Angeles. She lived in a 2-bedroom apartment with her mother, Florence, and her 5-year-old daughter, Christine.
Didn't she also live with her brother-in-law and sister-in-law?
I've seen that little nugget out there, but apparently her brother was actually killed in the war, and so but they were still on good terms with her sister-in-law, Sophie. And Sophie was Sophie wasn't living there, but she was staying there. She was from out of town on a visit.
I see, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, and so
Sure.
So that would have been pretty crowded to have everybody living there, full time.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think
it happened.
I think that's what it said, like on the wiki page for this.
Probably,
it had that
yeah.
on there. I think that was inaccurate. A lot of inaccurate stuff on Wikipedia. Yeah.
Careful.
Well,
Yeah.
we're not going to get a torrent of emails about that.
Okay, let's back to our story here. At the time that our story begins, October 1949, Gene Spangler was 26 years old.
Oh, a baby.
Yeah, I know. She had been in 8 different movies, all of them uncredited. Yeah, I know. Yeah, the shame. She'd been married briefly to a guy named Dexter Benner. They divorced in 1946, and they had a baby, a child support.
Well, didn't she have to... Wasn't it initially they awarded custody to the husband?
Yeah.
But he was such a jerk and kept denying her visitation that eventually...
so she said.
Yeah.
Well, the court eventually sided with her,
Yeah.
and they changed their mind and gave custody to her.
Actually, the divorce is interesting. They were married for like 4 months initially, right? So they got married when she was 19, and they were married for 4 months before they separated, and then saw each other on and off for 5 years before they finally divorced.
Yeah, I know.
Come on, guys.
Yeah,
Really?
good at commitment.
Come on.
I know. That's sad. Kids today. Okay.
Today.
Yeah, kids
Today.
yesterday. Okay, back to our mystery. On October 7th, 1949, Jean left her daughter with her sister-in-law, Sophie. Her mother was out of town visiting relatives in Kentucky. So she said that she had to go see her ex about child support, which she apparently was late on.
Oh, I heard that she wanted to increase
that too,
the amount. Yeah.
I've heard both of those things, yeah. She also said that after that, she was going to go work on a night shoot for a film. And, well, long story short, she never came back. She never returned home. And no, to this day, nobody knows what happened to her. Or probably somebody does, but they're not talking.
Right.
Typically, that's the case.
Yeah, so the next day, Sophie called the police. They took a report, but they didn't do anything because they figured, it's Hollywood. People are partying all
She
night
probably
long.
just went on a bender.
Yeah, so obviously they're not going to waste their time.
And again, Sophie is the sister-in-law.
Sophie is a sister-in-law.
Okay,
yeah.
just making sure.
Who was watching Christine, the daughter.
Christine, the
too,
daughter,
right?
exactly. So the day after that, Sunday, October 9th, Jean's purse was found in Griffith Park by a park ranger. The straps on one side have been torn off, which suggests some sort of violence. And so this galvanized the police into action. The next day, they got together a bunch of cops, like 60 cops and 100 plus volunteers, and started combing Griffith Park. And they found nothing. I think the search went on for 3 or 4 days.
Well, and Griffith Park was a big park. It was like it's
It's huge.
1,000 acres or
Yeah.
Oh,
something.
well, I think it's more than that.
Okay,
It's
I just
really
remember
big.
it was just a huge area to have to search.
And I don't think they searched the entire park. This is at one specific.
Yeah, I'm sure they combed the area around.
Yeah, I'm sure they went a ways, but yeah, searching that entire park. Oh my God, that'd be like searching Forest Park.
Yeah.
It's like,
Huge. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really huge. Okay, back to the purse. It had no money in it except for a silver dollar, which was her lucky charm. yeah.
Oops.
Fail. Yeah. But her sister-in-law said that she had no money when she left on Friday, so it doesn't look like robbery was the motive. And she, of course, was when you're doing things like having bit parts as an extra in a movie, you're not really making a lot of money.
Yeah,
so
and
she
living
was-
with your mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was ID and the usual stuff you'll find in a purse. The big item of interest was a note which read, "Kirk, can't wait any longer. Going to see Dr. Scott. It will work best this way while Mother is away." And it ends with a comma as if she'd been interrupted while writing it. Although I've seen a photograph of the note, and I can't really tell. It looks to me like it could just as easily be a period.
Yeah,
as a
I
comma.
wasn't sure about that.
Yeah, so I don't really know.
Although you would think you would sign a letter.
Yeah,
No.
I was thinking there would at least be initials at the bottom. If there's nothing else.
Yeah.
So it does have a certain unfinished quality to it. On October 12th, this was the Tuesday following, or no, excuse me, the Wednesday following. The LAPD got a surprise phone call from none other than Kirk Douglas. You know Kirk Douglas?
No,
You don't know Kirk Douglas?
I don't know
Okay.
Why do I know Kirk Douglas?
Because he's
Yeah.
the father of Michael Douglas.
Yeah. Spartacus, Paths of Glory.
You are so killing me. The generational gap really is making me feel old right now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wait, he was the one who was in Spartacus. Not Michael Douglas was not the one though.
no, not Michael
no.
Douglas.
It was Kirk Douglas.
Kirk Douglas.
Then
was
yeah,
in
then I
Spartacus.
know who he is.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good.
It's also sometimes just fun to do that blank stare with you guys
Just
for a
mess
couple
it.
minutes.
Yeah. I
So we
know.
both freak out.
Yeah.
Not nice.
It's fun. No,
Yeah.
it's fun.
Yeah, I could do that. I've heard of Kirk. Yeah. So anyway, Kirk Douglas, as you all know, was a famous movie star. So he phones him up just out of the blue and tells them that he totally was not the Kirk that the note was addressed to.
So he's
Yeah.
just like, hey, LAPD, what's up? Yeah, that Kirk.
Yeah,
that note?
it's not me.
Yeah,
it's not me. Ah, no.
No, it's
Yeah.
not me.
Yeah. So
Okay, that's
but,
suspicious, maybe.
yeah, Gene Spangler had a bit part in a movie recently that Douglas has starred in called Young Man with a Horn, also starring Lauren Bacall and Doris Day. And apparently Douglas said that he had heard about it. Somebody that he knew, that he was acquainted with, had read about this, recognized the name, checked, she was in the movie, and mentioned it to him.
Some studio exec otherwise.
Yeah, those guys are probably always, putting out little fires and stuff like that, So they probably said, hey, talk to your lawyer, then call the cops and get out ahead of this story. So I'm sure that.
Yeah, this is before like Us Weekly, right? That would have been like Kirk Douglas or
Well, there's always been those Hollywood dirt rags though, where they're
Yeah.
always trying to find stuff about people. So I can imagine that they, as Joe put it, they're putting out fires way ahead of time.
Oh yeah.
Before those guys can even get to it.
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Although
that-
I guess it seems like the sort of thing that like you would figure out a way, like your publicity manager would probably figure out a way to like on the lowdown let the LAPD know, hey, we're just trying to get out ahead of this. I want you to know it's not him. Instead of like personally phoning the LAPD and being like, hey guys, this is totally unsolicited, but it's not me.
Well, it's really interesting too. So he phones like the senior investigator, and I'm sure he got some secretary or somebody like that. Can I tell him who's calling? Kirk Douglas. Click.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. How did you get
Prankster.
through? Yeah. By the way, is your refrigerator running? He told the police that he remembered talking to her on the set a little bit, but other than that, he didn't know her personally at all. When Jean's mother got back from Kentucky, she told police that Jean had actually dated a guy named Kirk and had gone out with him at least twice, but that she didn't know his last name and had never met him and knew nothing about him. So that was it. So it could have been another Kirk.
Oh, that's right. Because this guy, he stayed in the car, and she went out and met him, so the mother never could get a good look at him.
Well, on the other hand, if I were famous actor Kirk Douglas, I don't know that I would be like...
You probably want to keep it under that.
I wouldn't be like flaunting it around. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what his like marital girlfriend status was at the time, but...
I believe he didn't have one.
I
don't know. I haven't done any research on him, actually. I mean, I did a little bit. I covered some unsavory things.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get into that later. But
I wasn't really going to bring that up very much because
we'll deal with it when the time comes. But
so, and this episode's not about Kirk Douglas anyway. Except his behavior was mighty suspicious. Jean, as far as dating, apparently she was dating somebody new at least a couple of weeks before her disappearance. But it turned out that the cops tracked him down. It turns out he was a writer named Peter Brooks, so nobody named Kirk. All right, that's the high-level part of it. Now we're going to go back and get into a little bit more detail without being tedious about it or nothing, of course.
Oh, right.
So back to the start.
Tedious.
I know. So I'm going to give you a little brief timeline here. October 7th, 5 o'clock to 5:30, and I've seen both of them, depending on where you read about this. She leaves the apartment. She's going to go see her ex, and then going to go to a movie shoot. 6 o'clock, she's seen at the farmer's market at 3rd and Fairfax, which is about 800 to 1,000 feet north of her apartment. So pretty close by. Mm-hmm. And there was a clerk there who saw her hanging around, said she was there for around 90 minutes, just browsing, and sort of hanging out. And the clerk said that he got the impression that she was waiting for somebody. Didn't talk to her, but just got that impression.
That's how do you get that? Okay, well, I don't understand that. If it's a farmer's market, and I've been to farmer's markets, what do people do? They wander from booth to booth, and they check out the wares and the goods. Mm-hmm. So what I don't get is, how does that infer that I'm waiting for someone?
I mean, she was probably like looking at her watch or checking the door regularly or something like that. I don't know.
I mean, I think that what we classify as a farmer's market isn't what it is classified as a farmer's market in the mid 40s, late 40s.
Late 40s.
I don't think that that's the same thing. I don't think it's the same sort of like street fair situation.
I'm not really sure.
I could be wrong, but you know, in LA they have that famous. It's not like a farmer's market, but it's kind of it's a mall that's attached to what used to be a farmer's market, and it's booths and stuff like that, but it's like lots of storefronts together. I can't remember what it's called right now, I'll be honest.
It's called the farmer's market. Actually, no, this place is still in the same spot. It's still called the farmer's market. I don't know if it looks the same. It looks kind of mallish, but it looks like some of the buildings are kind of old. There's a lot of new construction around it, but it looks like at least a few of the buildings are old wooden buildings.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I think we're talking about the same kind of place. Maybe it is the farmer's market. Maybe it's not, but it's it's like booths. It's kind of more like a boardwalk, I think, is maybe the way that I would describe it. Lots of like storefronts, not like somebody's just like brought their little cart of food and like set it up under a tent, which is kind of what I think of with like a modern day farmer's market.
That is kind of what I'm thinking.
So I think you could kind of say like it's all surrounded. It surrounds a square kind of area. It's easy to just kind of be loitering and wandering, and especially if you're doing it for 90 minutes and you really don't ever buy anything and you kind of
just
are looking like
forth.
Disinterestedly in things. I think it's easier to I think it's possible to say. I'm sorry, all that to say. I think it's very possible to say. It'd be pretty easy to say that person was just waiting for somebody.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I was just curious.
Long explanation. Sorry.
Yeah. All right. We're back to our timeline. 7 o'clock. She calls home to check on her daughter, and says that she'll be home later. Talk to Sophie, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. So obviously from a payphone in the farmer's market, because she didn't leave there till about 7:30. Mm-hmm. Okay. By the time she left, of course, it would be dark. I checked. Sunset on that day was 6:30 p.m. So it's dark out.
6:28, please.
6:28. You're right.
Specific.
Let's be specific.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. And not that it matters all that much, but it's just easier to murder people when it's dark out. Yeah. Okay, her next sighting was 6 hours later, the wee hours of October 8th, Saturday morning, 1:30 a.m. She was seen at a table in a restaurant called the Cheese Box at Sunset and Laurel Canyon, sitting with like a tall, neat man, as he was described, with dark hair, 30 to 35 years old. And by the way, the location of the Cheese Box is about 2 miles north of her apartment.
So not too far away from home.
Yeah. I mean, she might have caught a ride, caught a bus. She could have easily walked it in that time. I'm doubting she did. She was still at the Cheese Box apparently at 2:30 a.m. A different eyewitness saw her there, but she was sitting at a different table and arguing with a couple of guys. And of course, some of these sightings, let's face it, might not have been her. I mean, these are after it hit
there's
the
a grain
papers,
of salt here.
Yeah. So I'm pretty convinced the guy at the farmer's market, since she lived so close by, probably knew her or was familiar
Or
with
had seen her enough.
So that was probably an accurate one. So anyway, early that morning, it's just kind of vague. A gas station attendant reported that a convertible with a man and a woman pulled in for gas. And of course, at this time, her disappearance had not yet hit the papers. So he had to. But apparently, she reportedly looked like Jean, and the guy in the car said that they were going to go to Fresno. And then, as they drove away, the woman yelled, "Have the police follow this car!" So the attendant called the cops, but the cops were not able to find the car. It probably was a joke,
I was going to say.
Is your refrigerator running? I mean,
Really. I mean, it's like early morning. She's probably drunk. And just thinks this would be hilarious. Let's just yell that.
Yeah.
Because really, how are they gonna?
Yeah. Well, I think that probably that stuck in his mind a little bit, and finally when he picked up the paper there. But then at the same time, maybe it was her. I'm doubting it. So that same Saturday, somewhere between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m., her purse is dropped at the Ferndale entrance to Griffith Park, which is 3.5 miles northeast of the Cheese Box. And the timeline for that particular one was the guy who found it, I think his name was Henry Angle, he was a park ranger, and he didn't find it until Sunday, the day after. And so I'm not sure why he's so sure it was between 6 and 10. I mean, maybe he was by there at 6 p.m. on Saturday and didn't see it there, and then maybe perhaps they closed the park at 10 o'clock and shut the gates. I don't know. That's the only way I can think of that he knew that it had to be between 6 and 10.
But if they closed the gates, it would have been there, and they would have seen it when they closed the gates.
Well, I don't think it was.
No.
I don't think it was right by the gates. It was about 10 feet inside the entrance here. So
it just seems like that. I mean, you do a patrol. Like if you close the gates to a park, you close the gates.
But gates to a park, I doubt mean that the thing is got a cyclone fence around it and it's a tall chain link fence. It's probably just bars across the road. But any goofball can walk by or stop and throw something into the bushes in the park.
Totally. So yeah, I think that this is kind of shaky.
Okay.
And also, I went and looked at the park entrance on Google Street View. You know me, I always have to do that.
Yeah, every story.
I didn't see any evidence of massive chain link fences or anything like that.
No, that's not what they do at parks.
No.
Well, I mean, a park that big, I mean, trying to close a park like that off, I mean, forget it. How are you going to do that?
You can close parks like that. They do this with Washington Park or Forest Park in Portland.
Yeah.
You close the roads so that car traffic can't get through, but pedestrian traffic, there's no
People
way to
can
keep
still
them out.
sneak in.
So they just don't even try anymore.
No, it's not worth it. Okay, next in our timeline, October 9th, 9 a.m., a Fresno man saw her in a bar in Fresno with a man. And so apparently, once again, so this is October 9th. She still has not hit the papers. And apparently, she was saying it's 9 a.m., she's sitting in the bar with a guy and said something on the order of I just had the worst night of my life. Or I don't know if she said that to this guy or if he overheard her saying it. I think he overheard her. And so I don't really believe this one either. Again, this guy was hanging out at the bar. Probably had a few himself.
He's at a bar at 9 a.m.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, let's be honest.
Really, let's seriously. That might be one reason the police discounted this. They didn't take it too seriously. Okay, so anyway, that same day, the purse is found. And, of course, that gets the police all hot and bothered, and they start the search the next day, Monday, October 10th. That same day, October 10th, Davey Ogle, who was a guy that Jean purportedly dated for a while, or hung out with at least, he disappeared too. He was an associate of an LA gangster named Mickey Cohen. Yeah, and another one of the gang, Frank Nicoli, had vanished about a month before. But these guys actually had reasons to vanish. So
Yeah,
they were under indictment.
They were. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
trying to remember what they were indicted for.
Yeah, conspiracy was the official charge, but
Is that what it
I don't know
was?
conspiracy to what. You know, I mean, you
Yeah.
can conspire about all sorts of things.
Hard to tell.
Maybe
But
it was-
I remember seeing that and looking at it, but I just can't, for the life of me, remember what it was.
Yeah. Anyway, October 11th, Jean was cited by three waitresses at a restaurant in Monterey. You guys know where Monterey is, right?
California?
Yeah, somewhere
Yeah.
in California.
Yeah. No, sorry. I just wanted to make sure we were still talking about California.
Yeah, still in California,
Yeah.
but that's a ways up the coast from LA. That's almost to San Francisco.
Well, I mean, it's not as though you can't like drive that far. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
you
Oh,
can
very easily.
technically drive from Portland to LA in one day.
Yeah, I would.
Now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to try.
Gotta
it.
remember the speed of travel of cars and the roads at that time. It was
Yeah.
a much.
Sure, but given a couple days, LA to the Bay Area.
I'm not
Oh, yeah.
disagreeing.
No,
what I'm
that's
saying
not.
is that just because we can go to Portland, LA in a day now, doesn't mean that was the case before.
Sure,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
to say like, oh, it seems impossible that she
No,
could have
no,
made it
no.
to Fresno
Monterey
or
is-
Monterey, like.
Oh yeah,
Probably
no.
a plausible
Yeah.
drive in
Yeah.
a day and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, even without Interstate 5.
Yeah.
It could be done. So her next sighting, October 12th, somebody reported that he saw her at a bus depot in Stockton.
I actually don't know where Stockton is. It's
Stockton,
California.
so-
Yeah,
Thanks. Ha.
Central California,
Central.
like just like maybe 100 miles east of San Francisco.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, Oh, of course, on that same day, the famous movie guy Kirk Douglas called the police up and swore it totally wasn't him in that note. Next day, October 13th, she is cited. Jean, that is cited in North Hollywood by Shirley Ann Morse, who was a 13-year-old girl who knew Jean. Apparently, they were friends. And so this might be a more reliable sighting, although what she was doing hanging out in North Hollywood, I don't know. But apparently, Shirley saw her in a car with an older-looking guy, and she looked nervous and frightened.
I bet
so she
Shirley
said.
was an actress. Don't you think she was also like a bit actress? Mm-hmm. Don't you think? I mean,
I thought she was a schoolgirl, but hey, maybe that's how they knew each other from the movies,
yeah,
or
that
something.
she
Could
would.
be.
That she had done some bit parts in movies that Jean had also been bit part. Maybe
That's-
Jean played her mom once. I don't know.
There you go. I don't know. But that might be a more reliable sighting. I don't know.
Yeah.
And after that, no major sightings reported. On October 18th, the police called off the investigation. Yeah, they said they believed that she had just taken off and was
Like
you know.
10 days later, right? Is that let's?
Yeah, well, actually, they
Seven.
didn't really start their investigation till the 9th. So
like
9 days.
9
later.
days later.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hey guys, if I ever disappear, I want you to make sure the police look for me for longer than 9 days.
We'll make sure they go at least 10.
Yeah, thank you. That
Yeah.
seems reasonable. At least
Yeah.
10.
10 is an acceptable number.
I agree. Yeah.
I can just see it now. We're going to be, we will not let you quit. We will not let you abandon her until tomorrow. As time went by, they continued to receive reports of sightings from all over sightings of Jean from all over the country.
As tends to happen.
Yeah.
She was also like an attractive but fairly nondescript white female.
Yeah, I would say
So-
that it'd be very easy to mistake her for a lot of other people. a lot of
Yeah,
other people for
I
her.
was looking at the pictures of her from the number of movies that she was in, and she was probably great as an extra because she didn't have a defining look.
Yep.
Yeah, she's not going to steal the scene from the main
Nope.
star.
No, you
by any
change your
means.
hair, she looks completely different. You change your makeup, she looked completely different. I was
Yep.
looking at somebody had a collage of her photos, and she didn't look the same in any of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't put a lot of stock in any of these. She was seen as far away as Mexico City, and in the 1950s, she was supposedly seen with Davey Ogle and Frank Nicoli in El Paso, Texas.
That makes sense.
I
Yeah.
actually really like that one.
Yeah,
But I have holes with it, but I'm sure we'll talk about
yeah, I take that one with a grain of salt, but we'll cover that why I take that with a grain of salt later on when we talk about some of the theories.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so what was she up to that night before we get into the theories? The police, as you know, she was going to go see the ex and then go make a movie. Police checked with the ex, and he said he hadn't seen her in weeks, and his new wife backed up his alibi. They also checked her story that she was going to be filming on a movie set that night. They checked apparently with all the movie companies around town, the Screen Actors Guild, etc. And apparently, no, she wasn't scheduled to work on any movies that night.
And they weren't actually doing any movies that night.
Apparently not. Yeah, and this was back in the day too. They didn't do as much location filming back in the old days, especially I think probably at night. So they
Yeah.
did a lot more studio stuff. That's what the backlot is for. One other thing that they managed to unearth is they talked to a girlfriend of hers who said that Jean had told her that she was pregnant, 3 months pregnant, and that led to speculation that when she left on Friday, she was actually going to go out and get an abortion, which is why she told all these lies about seeing the ex and making a movie.
Which is pretty standard in that that time frame because it was illegal.
Though I don't know why you would loiter around a farmer's market for 90 minutes waiting for somebody
Yeah.
prior, but sure.
Yeah,
That's not
exactly.
normally where you meet the doctor.
Not
Yeah,
usually,
not
but
really.
you know.
Yeah, well, you just go to the kindly farmer abortionist guy over there.
Ah,
So let's talk about some theories. A big time theory is, remember the note said, I'm going to see Dr. Scott.
yeah.
And so the question on everybody's mind is, well, was Dr. Scott an abortionist? And did she die in a botched abortion? And so to me, I don't really buy this because her
I
movements
agree.
that night suggest that she wasn't going out. I mean, you don't hang out in the farmer's market like you say for
Right.
90 minutes. And then there was a 6-hour gap between the farmer's market and the cheese box at 1:30 that morning.
And the
Which-
cheese box is pretty much confirmed sighting. Is that true?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. But
Okay.
I'm not 100% convinced. But
I was going to say, I question it because it's kind of like the guy at 9 a.m. in the bar. It's a bunch of people in a bar.
yeah.
Sure, but
And there's been times when I was out having a couple of drinks and I wasn't sure if I saw Joe.
but wasn't it the waiter that?
It was the 1:30 a.m. sighting was actually the restaurant manager, I believe.
So I would trust
okay,
that.
so
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
a patron who's had a
Who's-
couple.
yeah, somebody who's sober. So that's I put some weight on that, I guess. But still, assuming that was her, then there was plenty of time to perform an abortion. But she was seen alive and well at 1:30 a.m. The other thing I don't get is why would you dump the purse in the park rather than throwing it in a dumpster
Especially with like a note like that.
with an incriminating note in
Yeah.
with your name on it?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely have gone through the purse to make sure my phone number, my name, nothing that points to me was in there. I mean, wouldn't you?
Well, I think we've talked about this before. Logically, from our perspective, that makes sense. But if you are frantic to cover up something, when people do frantic things, they don't think them through and they just stash something or
You know-
they just chuck it.
Okay, but I guess in defense of Joe's thing, and not to like really go too deep into
Yeah, we don't
this,
need to go too far.
We
into it,
don't, but at this point in time, abortions were not only legal but often botched. And if you are performing illegal abortions, it's likely that you've botched a couple.
yeah,
So
unfortunately.
you probably kind of know what to do.
Yeah.
You're not going to have that like major freak out. This is,
Yeah.
Which is all I will say about it, and I think we should move on to the next
Yes.
theory.
Well,
I agree.
Just one other thing, though, is that's just one other thing that he did. He did an excellent job of disposing of her body, which is a lot tougher than getting rid of a purse.
Yeah, exactly.
He did a bang-up job of doing that.
Yeah.
And then he screws up all over the place
Yeah,
with the purse.
that
So-
seems unlikely.
Yeah. Okay, next theory. Her ex, Dexter Benner. Apparently there were some rumors of abuse during the relationship, and they'd had that nasty custody fight over the daughter, and he obviously wanted the daughter back. So murdering Jean would be just the thing to do if you want to get your daughter back. But of course, as we said, he had an alibi, although it's not something I would consider rock solid because your wife might lie to cover for you.
Well, and here's the thing. He and his new wife had been married exactly or almost a month,
Yeah.
give or take a little bit. So of course she's going to cover for him. As soon as I read the wife said she was with him all night long, like, of course that's what you would say. I'm not saying that she's lying, but that is just one of those things that just automatically I have to question. Because so often people do that
Yeah.
and get proved that they're lying.
Yeah, and so, you got to take that with a grain of salt. But again, she lied about going to a movie set. So after
And
seeing
that's
that.
why I'm not harping on it,
Yeah, and-
because Jean's done some things that are throwing red flags everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my personal theory as to why she lied about what she was going to go do is that her mother was out of town. Sister-in-law is visiting, and she's going to dump her kid on the sister-in-law while she
She
goes
needs
out.
a night off.
Yeah,
She's a young, stressed out mother. Of course she
yeah.
needs a
Okay,
night off.
but she probably felt a little embarrassed because she probably felt like, gee, she's my guest, she's here in town, and I should really be hanging out with her, and instead I want to go out and party, or
We've all got family members who were super nice people that suck to hang around.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You're boring. Oh, why do I have to listen to you? All you talk about is this one thing. You're
All you
just
talk
no
about is
fun.
my dead brother, your dead husband, and how much you miss him. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm sure that there's a lot of
There's
explanations.
myriad reasons why
Yeah.
she might want to ditch her.
Yeah, and so, but I think it was she just wanted to go out and party or do something. I don't know what. Anyway, so the ex, I don't think she was going to see the ex, and I tend to believe his story. They certainly never found any evidence
Yeah.
to support any of that stuff. Next theory, blackmail. So, was she pregnant with Kirk's love child?
Kirk Douglas?
Or Kirk somebody? The girlfriend who told the police that Jean was pregnant also said that Jean told her that she was going to be coming into a lot of money soon. Didn't say how or why, but that would suggest that she was expecting a big blackmail payoff, huh?
I never saw that.
Yeah, if she had been blackmailing somebody, that'd be a good motive to kill her.
Yeah.
Of course, maybe she wasn't blackmailing, or maybe Kirk, to say, or whoever, had gotten her pregnant. He had a lot of money and he basically paid her off. Basically said, "Look, if you have an abortion or whatever, I'll pay you $25,000 to
Just go away.
go away." You know, and so maybe that's what it was. There was no blackmail involved at all.
That's
But
possible.
The problem is still, you know.
I'm sorry. I'm just sitting here mulling it over, and I guess it is possible. I've seen probably too many Hollywood drama things, whether they're real or made up by Hollywood, where that stuff happens. So I can see some credence in it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really add a lot of stock to it, but I can see some credence in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Of course, you know, it makes a lot more sense just to pay somebody off rather than murder them, you know, because...
That's usually the easier route.
Yeah. Of course, one problem with this is there's still the whole question of the purse. Well, the purse with the incriminating note with Kirk's name on it. Of course, it maybe wasn't a guy named Kirk. I mean, who knows? But there was the incriminating purse note, and why throw it in the park? Why not throw it in the garbage can? Why tear the handles off of it, which would indicate, set up a lot of red flags, and which would indicate violence to the police. So that just doesn't make any sense. Okay, next theory: the Black Dahlia killer did her in.
Oh.
Yeah, so that happened like about 3 years before.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you guys are familiar with that whole thing. This young brunette actress, aspiring actress like Jean Spangler, was found murdered in a vacant lot, and her body had been basically cut in two. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was hideous, And so they thought at first when she disappeared, they thought the Black Dahlia killer was still out there, and the police actually believed this. So
Wait, back up. So
yeah.
Because my timeline, I'm trying to remember. The Black Dahlia murders happened before Jean disappeared.
Yeah. About 3
Okay, not
years
the other way
before.
around.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Somehow in my head I'd mixed it up, so I was just double checking.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and so the police were really thinking this, but as time went by and a hideously mutilated body didn't turn up, the theory was pretty much put out to pasture.
I don't know. I guess maybe, you for 3 years to perfect your craft or whatever, right? I guess I can kind of see maybe the person who killed the Black Dahlia is actually has improved and got
Could
better
be.
at hiding a body. But
That could be.
Also probably not.
The next theory is it was collateral damage in a mob hit because, as we know, she was hanging out with this mobster guy.
Yeah.
And so if she just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time and there was a gangland killing and she might have been, or they've been caught in a crossfire, or maybe they just thought, well, she's a witness, kill her. So that's a possibility. I'm not putting a lot of stock in that one. I don't. There's no evidence that she was actually still hanging out with that guy. Because again, she had a new boyfriend, and so I don't know that she was seeing that. What's his name? Davey Ogle.
Ogle, yeah.
Ogle, yeah. I don't really put a lot of stock in this one. The next one is those two guys at the Cheese Box restaurant that she was arguing with. I'm guessing maybe she won the argument, and that really ticked them off. Yeah.
Possible.
You made that up.
Yeah, it kind of did, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, you won the argument, but we get the last word. Bang. Yeah. Next theory, Lieutenant Scott. So the police turned up another interesting thing from her past. About 4 years before, while her husband was off at the war in the Pacific, Jean had an affair with a guy named, he was like an Air Corps lieutenant, His last name was Scott. I guess she called her Scotty. And apparently he was abusive. She wanted to leave him. He threatened to kill her if she did. She eventually managed to break it off. And last time she saw him was in 1945, 4 years before. There's no evidence that he became a doctor. Remember the note said going to see Dr. Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, because the cops poured through and interrogated every doctor whose last name was Scott.
I thought they poured over and interrogated every doctor, not just Scott's.
What I read, I thought they couldn't just hit every doctor, so they were after all the ones that had last name of Scott. But then the thing is that there's guys who do things on the sly that go by a code name.
Yeah.
So Dr. Scotty could mean anything.
Yeah. So it could have been an abortionist. It could have been a dentist. I mean, it could have been, who knows?
Yeah. Veterinarian.
Yeah, it could have been a vet. Yeah. Also, besides the fact that he wasn't a doctor, why would she go to see the guy if she was afraid of him?
Yeah, because he was a jerk, and she had stopped hanging out with him because, as you said, he was abusive.
Yeah. Okay, so much for Lieutenant Scott. Next theory, she ran away from home. And remember, Davy Ogle disappeared at the same time she did, which led people to speculate that perhaps they had left town together to start a new life. Yeah, I know.
I don't like it.
No, I don't either. She was dating a new guy, for one thing, and apparently she was happy